What's up with that? Y'all cowards don't even smoke crack. Welcome aboard the 4 to 7 pod on the Ascension Podcast Network, APN with CNJ. Chris and Jerry here. No, not Topher or Geraldo or whatever other names you've made up for us. Although that is kind of old news at this point, but we are back after we are back. It's a long time to move on. We have to move on. What is this doing for your soul? Wow. What else?
Unbelievable.
SMH. Congrats on the new job, though, Jude. Good for you. But we are back after brief little absence. We kind of reached that lull period in the off season right before spring training starts. But the Super Bowl is over. The Patriots were exposed for the frauds that they are, and we're currently NBA All-Star break is about to end. The Olympics are still going on, but more importantly than anything, spring training is here.
Yeah, we really didn't have any news on the baseball front until Tony Clark. Apparently a big fan of Martin Brodeur. Who knew?
Yeah. We were not familiar with his game, I guess. I mean, that's Yankees legend Tony Clark, who
and Met legend Tony Clark.
Yeah, Yankee and Met legend Tony Clark, who was fired as the the director of the MLB Players Association a year before an impending lockout. But not great. But I guess he just couldn't keep it in his pants or keep it exclusive to keep it in, or he kept it in the family, not in like a weird gross way, but not in like a weird gross way like Alabama, but definitely in a weird gross way. He kept it in the family. So he is now fired. Despite our hopes and dreams, Daniel Murphy will not be taking his place.
I was telling Chris this before we went on air. Is part of the charm of Daniel Murphy having the October he did in 2015 was not just that he did it, but if you had asked any Met fan before that playoff run, like, what do you think of him? And it's like, seems like a nice enough dude. He's a decent player. He's liable to do something dumb at least once a week.
Yeah,
so it's like that guy turned into Babe Ruth for 2 weeks.
Yeah, and then off of that run, he like kind of turned himself into someone that people have conversations about whether or not he should be in the Hall of Fame based off of, which might be a bit of a reach, but
I think it's more out of respect to like, hey, we're just going to acknowledge the fact that you were pretty good for about 4 years there. Like, like a top 10 MVP guy for 4 years. Like I don't think that means you have to say, hey, this guy should automatically be in, but it's like, I think part of why Hall candidacy gets discussed this much is like, just to make sure that guy gets talked about for, even if he never gets in, if he's on for 10 years,
just to get some
people hearing about how good you were.
Yeah, just to get some good publicity, so people don't forget about people don't forget about your impact on the game.
Which is why I think most Met fans realistically know, like, yeah, David Wright probably won't get in. At least keep him on there. People should know. It's why I feel the way I do about Johan. Although I do think Johan credibly has a case.
Yeah, but I think there's absolutely a case for David Wright, too.
But the fact that Johan went off the ballot after 1 year, that's criminal. Like, he should at least be discussed. Yeah. But to go back to Tony Clark, maybe the tweet of the week from Justice Mosqueda. Group chats across the country are on fire right now, all asking the same question. Which is worse, wife's sister or brother's wife? I think it's the latter.
That part, Yeah, that part did we ever get clarity on which one it was?
I don't think so, or at least not yet. I'm sure it'll come to light eventually, but not yet.
As far as what's worse, that's a tough one. I mean, I would say brother's wife is probably worse because if you're like if you're having an affair of that magnitude, I mean, you do you, but chances are, if you're having an affair of that magnitude, like it's over, as far as your marriage goes. So theoretically, you could never have to hear from the wife or the wife's sister again. Unless maybe next year, like when she has to do her taxes, you'll hear from the wife's sister because she needs to, fill out her W-2s for her role on the MLB Players Association the job that he gave her.
Yeah, that too. That's tough.
But aside from that, like, theoretically you wouldn't really have to hear from them again. But your brother's wife, like you're never gonna live that down.
It's like not only are you ruining your wife's family, you're ruining yours too.
Like like you can
your brother too, and then
you're never gonna be like again. Yeah, like you're never gonna be invited to like a Thanksgiving again, and if you do, it's gonna be awkward at best, violent at worst.
Yeah, chances of furniture moving high.
Yeah.
Just horrific timing given what's at stake here, because I think for as much as we're upset about the imbalance or the fact of we can't get the owners to spend and how do we fix this, I think ultimately everyone just agrees on the idea of, even if it's necessary, having a year without baseball would just suck. Even if there's a means to an end and it gets it fixed, like I'd like to think we can get to a place where we get that solved before we have to pull that lever.
I honestly am. I mean, I know that, I know obviously the biggest grievance or discrepancy right now is just like the competitive balance. But I think even that is not as broken as I think it's made out to be. So, I mean, if you think about it, the last few years, like no team really blew another team out of the water. Like I think last year, the best teams won like the best teams were the Phillies and the Brewers. They won like 97, 96 games. The Yankees and Blue Jays won 94. Like no one really, no one won like 100 games. I think the bigger problem is like what just some of these money laundering teams at the bottom are doing. But obviously you probably, not to get into like a deeper discussion, and I'm sure one day we will, especially as the inevitability approaches more, for now, mainly just trying to enjoy this baseball season we have coming up. But, I would say you probably can't have one without the other as far as a cap and a floor go. But yeah, I would say the biggest problem is really just like the teams at the bottom that are just refusing to invest in putting a competitive product on the field.
And strangely enough, given how this offseason's gone, I can't even point at the usual suspects, because the White Sox went out and got Murakami.
They did,
They now, granted, they did trade Rivera, but like they actually tried.
Yeah, Pirates Rivera, which isn't like it maybe moves the needle a little bit. It gives their lineup some much needed pop. So yeah, there are definitely some lower end teams making moves. I mean, the Reds signed Eugenio Suarez not too within the last couple of weeks to a 1 year, $15 million deal. I mean, literally anyone could have done that. So yeah, even some of the lower end teams are. The low spending teams are starting to make moves, or I think they're starting to maybe read the room a little bit, because I do think that a year, even if there is a means to an end with it as far as a lockout goes, and as far as like getting everything resolved to level out the playing field and maybe nerf the Dodgers a little bit, that's probably I think the biggest problem is just how much money they're deferring. That's probably like what needs to be dealt with the most. But as far as that goes, like I think that a year of no baseball would be extremely detrimental to the sport right now. With how much momentum we have, the spring training's about to start. World Baseball Classic starting too. So this is like a big, and like baseball's already like kind of made its way back into the mainstream. Attendance is up, people are going to games, viewership's up. Like it's like hip and cool to like baseball again.
And you've had back-to-back postseasons that are all they've gotten engagement.
Yeah.
They haven't had in a long time.
World Series, so it's like baseball has all this momentum, and to just kind of like let 2027 go by the wayside and kill that momentum. I mean, it would be very typical of MLB, but I think that it could ultimately, I think it might do more harm for the sport than good. Like, I don't know if it'll be, and you might be able to attest to it better than I can, but I don't know if it'll be as bad as or detrimental as like 1994 was, when like I feel like it like pretty much pushed baseball to the brink in '94 from what I'm told and what I've heard. But
so mine's always interesting because that's like really the first postseason I can remember watching was '93. So like that's kind of where like my baseball life starts.
Mm-hmm.
Is I remember watching baseball at that point. So I would hear all this talk as it was happening. And of course, like 7-8-year-old me, like doesn't understand why this is happening, why my dad's upset about it, why fans his age are upset about it. And I'm just like, well, the point is to play, like just figure it out. Like, dude,
yeah.
All right, the players are asking for this. It's not a problem.
That's what I felt when they had the NBA lockout in like 1999, I think it was 98, 99.
But like I just remember when it came back to like every night on SportsCenter, it's like, well, here's the first home game back in Baltimore. Here's the first home game back in San Francisco. Look at all these empty seats. And it's like, oh, people just stopped watching. They're playing again. Why do you care? Like, this was the whole point. We were waiting for the games to come back. Why are you mad?
Yeah.
Like, to me, it just didn't register why. And part of me kind of, I've always said, like, this is why, to me, like,
or like the
contracts and all that just don't mean as much to me because like I've grown up with that. So to me, it's just like, no, this is just the cost of it. This is how you do business.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just it would definitely be ideal if they could avoid any sort of situation like that, or whatever it is. Obviously, like it got pretty, like from what I remember, it got pretty ugly in 2022, but ultimately it was resolved in a timely enough manner where I think the season may have started like a little later than it was supposed to. I think it started
like a week.
Yeah, the season got pushed back a week, but that was really just so that they could like get spring training in and everything.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was just like, okay, that's like, let that be a lesson to you. Like, don't screw around next time. Get this taken care of.
Yeah.
And they were just like, nope.
No. Yeah. And it's probably going to get worse. It's probably going to get uglier this time around. There's, just more and more greed. The further into the depths of time that we go. So you just kind of got to brace yourself and, hope for the best. And, hopefully the new director, the MLBPA, hopefully they can, they can avoid this going to a place where a dark place for the sport. Although, I'm sure that the owners are probably more to blame in these situations usually.
Yeah, the new guy was Bruce Meyer, he was the union's deputy executive director. So he's like the interim guy. So I guess he's not even like the full-time guy. It's just like, well, this is about to happen, so let's get somebody.
Yeah.
But he's been with them for 8 years. So, okay, so he was the lead negotiator for the union during the pandemic and helped broker the labor deal that followed the 99-day lockout in 2022. He previously worked with the other 3 major American sports leagues. So, all right. They're not hiring a novice. So, I guess if you were hopeful of the idea of, okay, let's try to fix some of these issues, but also let's make sure that we keep playing. Like, not a bad choice to have this guy in front, given what's just happened. So, all right.
Yeah. I mean, he sounds about, I'm not going to pretend I know who he is or what his job title means, but
me neither.
he sounds about as qualified as he sounds about as qualified as anyone. I'm sure the job interview was probably just like, you got a wife, you got any siblings, you're hired.
Have you ever risked going to horny jail at Thanksgiving? You have not?
No.
Put her there.
Hired. Hired. You start right now.
Here's a preemptive warning, bonk. Just to let you know we mean business.
Yeah. Yeah, but
speaking of the low spending teams, by the way, and I think you might have mentioned it. The Pirates, at least, not for hang the banner material, because I know they definitely did offer Schwarber, and apparently they've been in on a few others. So it was like, okay, this is probably as much as we can expect for them. They had a layup. Andrew McCutchen is out there. I think he's made it pretty clear he probably wants to have one more go around. He keeps posting stuff that very clearly indicates, I'd like to keep playing.
Yeah.
So you sign Marcell Ozuna.
Yeah.
Why? To do what?
To hit home runs.
And hopefully nothing else.
To hit home runs in the DH. I think he's a much more useful player for the Pirates than Andrew McCutchen at this point.
Which is not incorrect. Like, for as much as we get on him for his transgressions, and they are deserved, he was still hitting. I can't lie and just say he's not a good player at all. He does hit.
Yeah.
But when you're the Pirates, and Andrew McCutchen is far and away the best player you've had since things broke down in the early 90s. And it's pretty obvious he wants to play one more season. Don't you take care of that guy? Like, nobody would be upset. Nobody would call you cheap for bringing back McCutchen. They would, in fact, probably tell you, oh, they did the right thing. They did right by a legend of theirs. And you passed it up.
Yeah, I mean,
beside a guy that we have body cam footage of.
Right. I mean, you could bring back Kutch, and obviously it wouldn't, especially at this point, it wouldn't cost you that much. I think what it comes down to, though, is like the Pirates do have they do have some, young prospects coming up. And I think that what it comes down to is what would his role on the roster really be? Like, he'd pretty much just be like a bench or a vibes guy. He'd pretty much just be a pinch hitter, and he's not even really particularly good at that at this point. And like, yeah, he was a legend of, he was obviously a legend here in Pittsburgh for the Pirates. He won the MVP. He definitely, he was the face of resurrecting that franchise in like the early to mid 2010s. And then, he comes back and or at least wants to finish his career here. But, unfortunately, just not everyone gets to go out on their terms. And I don't know. Part of me also thinks that McCutchen, he obviously feels some type of way about it. Obviously feels a little disrespected by the organization. But I almost feel like no matter what I think it's going to get to a point probably where, he might get like a spring training invite, because me and some friends discussed this actually. And we were like, maybe the best thing to do would be to like invite him to spring training and give him like maybe if you're having like one of your last preseason games at PNC Park, let him play in that game. And then, you you DFA him before the season starts and you go on your merry way and you let that kind of be like his last hoorah or his last goodbye with the fans. Kind of like what the Penguins did with Marc-Andre Fleury in the preseason.
Yeah.
Like you could go that route, but like I feel like even if he was offered that, I feel like he'd play the disrespect card.
He'd be like, "Oh, you're
so I don't know. He's probably the first guy they're calling if somebody gets hurt. So yeah, I'm not sure how exactly the cut situation is going to resolve itself. But I mean,
you kind of touched on it a little bit, and I don't know if you meant to, but when you talk about vibe stuff, remember the Pirates do have the number one prospect in baseball right now in Connor Griffin, who is potentially an outfielder. I don't know what they're going to do between him and O'Neal Cruz as far as who's going to be the shortstop and who's going to be the center fielder.
I think Connor Griffin. I mean, Connor Griffin should make the opening day roster, and he should probably start at short because, like, I'm not really sure who they're plugging in at short. If not, to be honest, so like I feel like it would make sense for him to play short because like O'Neal Cruz kind of has already proven he can't play short. Like he kind of just has to play in the outfield. O'Neal Cruz.
Yeah.
So I think
there is some value in having a guy like Kutch who had that responsibility of resurrecting a franchise and becoming the guy. And there is something to that for the Pirates when, especially if Connor Griffin hits right out of the gates and he's that guy immediately where it's, all right, hey, they have him in Skeens. That's kind of something. You might like look what the Reds have been able to do, like what Ellie did for them, lifting them up almost immediately. Like that is possible to have happen. And I just wonder if like just having Kutch there to talk to Connor Griffin to be like, hey, look, you're going to hit certain points during your time here, or I can tell you, like, if you want to try to find like a quiet night out in Pittsburgh, or like, you don't, or if you're okay with meeting people, or just understand if you meet people out in public, like this is an easy way to, to butter them up, and if you win over your fans, and you don't even have to take up a lot of your time. All you got to do is this. I think there's something having a guy like that who's been that person and knows exactly, like, I know what you're about to walk into. I know
just
what they expect of you. I can tell you about it.
Just show like a 19, almost 20-year-old, like, hey, this is how you be a pro in this city.
It's gonna seem like a lot at first, but like, trust me, if you perform well enough, like it's like, there's gonna be some people that'll blame you if they don't win enough. You'll never please them. But most of these people, they'll love you. Like, take it from me. Like, you see how many people still wear my number out and about in this stadium? That's what you'll get.
Yeah. No, there's definitely some validity to that. But I guess it's just like, and I guess like Marte is kind of that guy, like on the Mets to an extent.
Yeah.
But I guess the question is like how valuable is that, and like I guess whose roster spot are you taking for that? I guess becomes the question. So I'm sure no one will be upset if he does eventually make his way back on the team. Just right now, it's hard to see. It's hard to really see a fit, but I'd be surprised if he doesn't at least get like a camp invite at some point.
It's just one of those things. It's like you don't want to have your best player of the last 30 years ending on bad terms with you, and even if like, hey,
especially for a team
you might have a bad spring training.
You're already such a PR disaster. Like on top of the product on the field, like everything they do PR wise just seems to not go well for them. Like you had the whole, just this season alone. I mean, not that it was their fault or anyone's fault, but obviously you had the tragic incident where the guy falls from the Clemente wall.
Yeah.
And then you also had but then there were other things that were more preventable, like
the buckle brick.
The brick thing, covering Clemente's number with I forget what drink it is, but it's one of those like high noon ass drinks.
Yeah, the seltzer.
Yeah, and then although the security guard fighting the fan was actually kind of sick, and
yeah,
I'm almost positive that the fan was in the wrong and the employee was probably in the right in that situation.
Most times.
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of yeah. So yeah, I guess ending on bad terms
was not wrong.
I mean, and I guess I think it happens more often than not where players do kind of because like I said before, like not everyone gets to go out on their own terms or get the storybook happy ending in that sense. But I think that either way, like even if they are on rocky terms, like for the end of his career, I doubt that's going to be held. I doubt they're going to hold that against each other forever. I'm sure eventually, they'll have an Andrew McCutchen day, retire his number, give away bobbleheads and all that stuff. I'm sure that like he'll come back around.
And to your point, here's probably where handing out a spring training invite would work in your favor. You don't know, like he could come in and like say he hits 120 for spring training, or something happens where it's like he plays the outfield and he tries to go run down a ball and all of a sudden he realizes like, oh, I can't do that anymore. Like he could come to spring training and that could be the moment for him where it's like, okay, 1, I don't have it. 2, do I want to do this for 6 more months at my age?
Like, and 3, like, do I want to? Is this the way I want to go out? Like,
yeah, it's like I don't want to do this for 6 months and embarrass myself.
Yeah, because I think he hasn't really embarrassed himself, but
no,
he hasn't exactly, but he really hasn't, he really hasn't contributed the past few years either. So, it's probably, it's probably just time.
Yeah, you want to end up being like Jose Bautista playing for like the whole NL East in the same season, or it's like Miguel Tejada's on the Royals.
Yeah,
on the Astros. What? Jason Giambi's a Rocky? Excuse me?
Yeah, just
at least when he was on the Yankees and Giants, like with Kutch, you could tell like, okay, team still want him. Team still sees something with him.
Yeah, he was useful at that point. I mean, I think like his legs were like maybe at that point his legs were starting to go a little bit by like 2017, 2018. That's when like he couldn't really play center field at a super high level anymore. Like he was starting to lose a step, but he was still very useful. I mean, the Yankees put him in left field, and he was the leadoff hitter, like for like the playoff run. I believe we acquired him at the waiver deadline, if I'm not mistaken, because that was still a thing at the time.
Now that you say that, I think you're right. Let me go look that up. But I'm like 95% sure you're right about that.
Yeah, we got him at the waiver deadline, and then like at the end of August, and then he was our leadoff hitter for like September, and then going into the playoffs, and overall, like I viewed Kutch's short period of time with the Yankees as very positive. I was happy to have him, and was happy with his contributions, and then he went on his way. I believe he went to, I don't know if he went straight to Milwaukee after that, but I do know, or no, he went to the Phillies, I think, after that. And then I think he went to Milwaukee and then back to Pittsburgh.
He's also 3 weeks younger than me. I couldn't imagine signing up for this.
Right.
But also, I'm not an MVP, so I don't. The Yankees got him on August 31st, 2018 for Juan DePaula and here's a blast from the past, Abiatal Avelino, one of the many shortstop prospects that the Yankees had in the mid-2010s. I remember him. It was like him, Tyler Wade, Jorge Mateo.
Yeah. I remember, yeah. I mean, I definitely remember Tyler Wade and Jorge Mateo, but I honestly can't say that one's ringing a bell, but that's a fine, that's a fine, a fine trade if a fine trade for me. Obviously wish we didn't get smacked by the Red Sox that year, but I can't really blame that on Kutch.
No.
I feel like he did his part as much as you could expect him to at that point in his career. But let's get into it. So let's get into some Yankee Met talk. You start with the Mets. I know that Steve Cohen addressed the media, and we can just kind of do a outlook on kind of like where the team's at now, where the roster's at with spring training. So they took my advice and they signed Mike Tauchman.
They did.
I think I could probably do Stearns' job with that payroll. So just hit me up if you're hit me up if you're looking for a new executive after this year.
Listen, as long as you're going to try to speak things into existence, I want to cede the floor to you for the next 10 minutes. If you want to explain why it's a great idea for Dua Lipa to leave her fiance for me, all you.
I might need more than 10 minutes for that, but
I got plenty of time.
We'll get that on the private stream.
Yeah, on a secure line.
Yes, very secure indeed. But yeah, no, there's definitely a variety of reasons why she should consider doing that and do that. But yeah, Dua Lipa, hit us up. We'll steer you in the right direction.
But no, very happy to bring in Mike Tauchman. If he's, I will say it's interesting. They had him on a minor league deal, and I feel like if you swap his position with MJ Melendez, because he got the major league deal, I think for $1 million. And anytime you see someone signing a minor league deal at this point in the year, it's like, all right, well, how much room are they going to give him? Like how much runway does he like? How quickly does he have to impress? Because, like we talked about in the last show, I would like to have him. I just wondered, like, okay, very clearly they want to rotate the DH spot this year. Are they going to have room for that? It also helps that he's primarily a right fielder, and one of the Mets moves since we last talked is they're going to put Juan Soto in left field this year.
Yeah, I did hear about that.
Smart move, because it's right field and City Field is just very spacious.
Yeah. I feel like there's
a good center fielder doesn't cover for all of that.
Yeah. I feel like there's less ground to cover in left field at City. So that'll help, and could definitely open the door for Tauchman to get some playing time, because I do feel like with especially if it's a player like Tauchman, like when players of like that kind of caliber get signed to minor league deals at this point, like to me, I just kind of assume like, yeah, we're gonna see them, we're gonna see them like on the big league squad at some point. Like I think the Mariners just signed Mitch Garver today to compete for the backup catcher job to back up Cal Raleigh.
Okay, not a bad one to have. I know the Braves just signed Jonah Heim because Sean Murphy's still hurt, and so he's their backup to Drake Baldwin, which like
you could do a lot worse.
Like you could do worse than that.
Yeah, you could do a lot worse than that.
This is how I just learned that the Brewers got Luis Rengifo to a minor league deal, which news to me.
Yeah.
He would be an Angel forever.
Yeah. I didn't even know that the Angels. I didn't even know that the Angels cut him.
Let's see. Well, Mark Hanna went to the Rangers. That one I knew about. Let's see who else. Well, no, that's a major league deal for Shelby Miller. The Astros brought in Kayvan Biggio. Wonder why. I don't know what happened there. Huh.
Definitely
Gary
not.
Sanchez
definitely not any nepotism involved with that. With that hire.
Gary Sanchez is back in Milwaukee.
Good for him.
Nate Lowe's with the Reds. Okay.
Nathaniel Lowe in that ballpark, I fuck with that.
Yeah, big time. Jordan Montgomery went back to Texas. It's the first I'm finding out about it.
I didn't know. I didn't even know the Diamondbacks. I know that it obviously went miserably with the Diamondbacks, but I thought they were just stuck with them. I didn't know they like bought him out or released him.
Oh, speaking of minor league deals, the Yankees have one with one Rafael Montero, and Godspeed.
Yeah, hopefully hopefully that stays. Hopefully that's a minor league deal that stays in the minor leagues. And ain't a minor league low enough for him.
I once went down to Marlins Park. This was for my 31st birthday. And I watched Rafael Montero, who was still a starter at that point, walk the whole goddamn ballpark.
Good Lord.
And then got taken. This was one of Stanton's last games with the Marlins. Had a home run that was probably about 15, 20 feet to the right of me because I had outfield seats that day. This might have been, well, if this was late in the season, it was one of the last home runs he hit with the Marlins. And I was like this close to getting it.
Wow.
But yeah, watching Rafael Montero on your birthday, not fun.
No. Catching a Giancarlo Stanton home run sounds like a pretty dangerous task.
I was gonna let it be, like it ended up falling. If you've ever seen Marlins Park, like they have those little hedges in front of the right center field bleachers at the top of the wall there.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was gonna go short, but I was like, okay, there's enough room where we are, because this was like a weekday afternoon game. So it wasn't as if I was gonna have to fight off 10 people to do it. But I'm like, I'm gonna let this bounce because this is a Stanton ball. If I try to catch this with my bare hands, like they're gonna both break.
Yeah.
But it fell in front of the bushes and like some kid ran in and got it. I'm like, I'm not grabbing that off him.
No, you can't be.
I'm not going to be the bad guy.
Yeah, you can't be Zach Hampel.
No. If nothing else, I need to at least clear that bar. I was 31 at this point. Like I have to be better than this.
Yeah. Yeah. But you want to get into a little bit of Steve Cohen's press conference, and I guess the big thing he said is no captains.
Yeah, he basically said as long as he's owner, the Mets will not have a captain, and like had reasons for that. The main quote he said was that it's on the team to figure out who the leader is, and that every team is different. And on the one hand, I get it, partly especially because in baseball, the idea of a captain, like I feel like if you checked every team's captain history, I'm sure there's more than a few that haven't had an officially designated on the books captain in decades. It's not as prevalent in baseball as you would think. I mean, and honestly,
yeah.
I think
I was going to say, like,
when he signed his big extension, which was either 2012 or 2013, that's when they gave it to him, because at that point they knew, okay, he's going to stay here the rest of his career. But at that point, the Mets hadn't had one since John Franco, and he had retired in 2004. And even then, I always thought that was kind of odd that it's like, how much can a relief pitcher be your captain? So
yeah, I mean, but he was also like, he was mainly their captain because he was like 52 years old, though, right?
And also because he was from New York. I feel like that was a big selling point.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those things that it sounds nice. It sounds nice for every team to have the captain, to have the guy that wears the C on his chest, which David Wright never even did. It was acknowledged, but he never had the C the way the first one that comes to mind for me is I know Jason Varitek wore it.
Yeah, Varitek. Like, did John Olerud ever wear a C, like with Seattle? He was a captain, right? Because I really can't think
I don't think he did.
I don't know why John Olerud, for some reason.
I don't hate him being a captain. That would be. But like Judge is the captain of the Yankees. Do you see him with that? Like
he doesn't wear a C. Jeter never wore a C.
I feel like most guys that earn a captaincy generally are like, yeah, I don't need to wear that for it to be known. And so like they kind of shy away from that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that like it sounds good in theory, but I think Cohen probably has the right idea in terms of over any one given season, new guys come in and they can play a big part. And I think they're kind of banking on that, with Marcus Semien being one of those guys that he apparently was that for Texas with Corey Seager in 2023. It was kind of one of those guys where it's like, all right, Marcus is talking, or well, if Marcus says it, then we're doing it.
Yeah, and apparently him and Corey Seager didn't they had I think they had some sort of falling out.
Yeah,
And that was
apparently, and that
part of
was
why he got traded. It was
and
kind
they
of like I guess it was kind of like the perfect match of like, you know, Nimmo wasn't getting along with Lindor supposedly, and uh, Simeon had his beef or whatever with Corey Seager, and so like both players just needed to change the scenery, and they kind of filled different needs for those teams. So it's kind of like a perfect storm as far as that trade goes.
They talked to Corey Seager when everybody arrived at Rangers camp this week, and he didn't bash Marcus Simeon, but he also didn't go out of his way to say, no, that's wholly untrue. Marcus and I are good. I hope he has a great season.
Yeah, yeah. I did see a clip of the answer when he was asked about it, and it was very much like he very much said he said a lot of nothing, but he
Correct.
also kind of said a lot. Like he kind of said in a way it was like he kind of left it open ended. Like like there was probably there's probably some shit going on between them behind the scenes. Yeah, I mean, as far as captains go, I mean, like I feel like, the Yankees have had their captains over the years. I mean, they've had, Judge and Jeter. I think before that, Thurman Munson was their captain, like back in like the 70s or 80s.
I'm actually looking at the lineage. Thurman Munson was the Yankees' first captain since Lou Gehrig.
Yeah, so they had
they
had a long a gap without captains. Like you really, I don't know. Captain is just kind of like it's kind of just one of those made up things, I guess.
Yeah, it's like it sounds nice where you could say like he's the captain of the team, or like it's nice to say that about Jeter now. In essence, when his career's over, because you can, it's another honor to bestow on him. But I think in the moment, over the course of a season, like guys are going to look to Lindor anyway because he's already done that, in deed and in word, and by example. And
yeah,
they said that with Soto. Soto's a guy who just comes in and does his job, and there's something to be said for that.
Yeah. Soto may not be the most. Soto may not be the most like rah rah. Like I think you can lead in different ways too. Like some players lead like vocally, some just lead by example. I feel like Soto's very much a lead by example, and just like I am like a god at this sport.
This is how I do my job. If you want to do it, I'll show you.
Yeah, that's the way he leads. Like, yeah, and I feel like he's, obviously with how he talks to the media about like when he's asked like an actual baseball question and like the depth of answers that he'll give. Like, I'm sure he's more than happy to share that knowledge with his teammates. I think he's just maybe not super like outgoing, or maybe he's not like the guy that's making speeches in the locker room, and that's okay.
Right.
You don't. Yeah, and that's okay. You don't like not everyone is that guy, and not everyone really needs to be that guy. And I think like looking back now, like I know that going into like the David Wright going into like David Wright Day last summer, there was a lot of speculation that they could be passing the torch on to Lindor. But it's like now with like everything we've everything we've kind of like found out, like obviously I think Lindor is obviously very well liked and respected, but it seems like he may not be everyone's cup of tea in that locker room.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have different personalities coming and going. And I don't think it should just be, a matter of, oh, well, Lindor doesn't fuck with him, so he can't be a part of the team. So I think it's probably better that they don't designate him, because I mean, we all know it would be him if anybody. It's probably better they don't designate a captain, and they kind of just, everyone knows like he's like the leader of the team, and there's other players are going to come and go, and they're going to step into those leadership roles as well. Like everyone, I'm sure over the course of 162 games, everyone kind of finds their role and their place like in the clubhouse environment.
I mean, even like Soto mentioned it during the season last year. Like he looked at Marte as being one of those guys where it's like, yeah, he's done it for over a decade and he's played at a high level. And
he's been a Met for like a few years at that point too. So he could, because I think like, wasn't it like he hit a home run in spring training and Marte was like, oh, like after you hit a home run, like you go to the camera or whatever. Like that's what we do here.
And plus, it's a homeland thing with them both being from the Dominican. So for Soto, who's a bit younger, like he probably, as he was coming up, like looked at Starling Marte as, I mean, I'm sure, I don't know if Soto ever thought that he would get to this point in his life, but when he was trying to make it as a professional baseball player, he probably looked at Starling Marte and said, I want to be him. And now it's like, yeah, playing with this guy, like I'm gonna take everything he says, that much more because I'm playing the same sport as him. We came from the same place, and now I'm playing with him. Like, yeah, and I'm sure he didn't mean that as, oh, I don't mess with Lindor like that because we have a lot of photos and videos that say otherwise.
Yeah.
But also, the Mets in their history have 4 captains, and Keith Hernandez was it for 3 years. Gary Carter was co-captain with him for that last year, and they both left after '89.
Yeah, and I mean that '86 team, they all fucking hated each other.
But also a bunch of leaders. Like Keith was one, Carter was one, Ray Knight was one. Like there were guys that were just like, all right, let's fucking do this. Here, get behind me. We'll go do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's one of those things that it's just like it's such a well-known narrative in sports of having a team leader, but. And I think I think this probably is more of a bigger deal, like you said, because we all thought this was going to happen at the right ceremony last year, and then there's the whole thing in the offseason where like Nimmo thought this was going to be his, and I think maybe there is something to it because all 4 captains that the Mets have all been named under Wilpon ownership. Hernandez, Carter, Franco, and Wright were. So maybe this is Steve Cohen saying, yeah.
I'm not the Wilpons.
Yeah, we're going to be different.
As much as the Frank Flemings of the world think I'm Fred Wilpon, I'm not.
And also, I did see this today. Remember that Lindor's contract ends in 2031. And at that point, he will be well into his 30s. So he may just be done at that point.
It's quite possible.
And so maybe this is something where they're thinking, hey, like let's just say Carson Bench becomes the guy. Like say he wins Rookie of the Year this year, and then he's just that guy from that point onward. It's like, okay, well, we'll have Carson Bench for another decade plus. You're it. Because we know you're going to be here as Lindor heads into the back half of his career. So maybe there's something to that as well, although I guess Cohen did say, like, as long as I'm owning, but
right.
I think people thought that was going to be Lindor for so long now that I think part of the reason Cohen did that was knowing, like, all right, I know all this talk's going on. Look, he's only got 5 years left on this deal. Like,
yeah, we got to see.
Are we going to do this again when he retires? Like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, and he probably thought about it more and was just like, like it's just unnecessary to have it even be a topic of discussion. So like, let's just nix it entirely. Like, just don't even, as long as I'm the one writing the checks, don't even ask me about a captain.
Yeah, this is not going to be a thing for us. So I could get him one to avoid that headache. And it's like, oh, well, this was part of the reason why our locker room went to hell last year. Well, that's never happening again.
Yeah.
Which, if that was part of his logic, then I get it.
Yeah, and I think he did elaborate on that a little more too. I know that he said I know that he said he was excited about the players that he brought in and felt change was needed, was very annoyed that he hasn't really won yet, and that he knows that just all the all the owner talk that you'll get where he'll talk about how how they haven't been good enough and how it's been too long since they won and all that. Was there anything else that you really took away?
Well, I mean, he did have a lot of praise for Mendoza, and I think some may see that as, is this the vote of confidence? But he said he brings the right culture to the table. And reading between the lines, I wonder if it's like, no, he was doing the right things. It just wasn't being carried out. We changed some things. We swapped out some guys. We're betting it's going to be better there this year. It's like, this is year 3. Year 1 went well, and he was in charge. Year 2 didn't go well, and he was in charge. We changed some things. We're betting year 3 will be better.
Yeah, and if the culture, if they had culture issues or team chemistry issues or whatever it was that went awry last year, like there's only so much a manager can do to manage 26 to 40 different, player personalities.
Right. The role of the manager now is really more about man management than in-game moves and day-to-day stuff. Like the front office has taken such a role in that now, where the manager has to be the guy that keeps the morale up and keeps everybody engaged for 7 months.
Exactly. Yeah, pretty much just make sure people are like happy to show up to work every day and play for you. But I think that's a good segue. You mentioned Carson Benz. I think that's a good segue to talk a little bit about just kind of like where, I guess, where you feel the roster stands as a whole, like now that spring training's starting. And do you expect Carson Benz to make the team out of camp? And who are some other I guess fringe, like minor league, like double or triple A players that you think might have a real shot of like making the team?
Well, Benj feels like the one that, we heard so much good about last year, and he was someone that they had a lot of hope for from the night that they drafted him in the first round in 2024. And I feel like they've tried to clear runway for him, between, they've moved Soto to left and, having Robert where he's really got 1 year left on the deal, and then it's 2 options. So if Robert, doesn't have a season that makes them reconsider, it's real easy to just move on because it's, hey, we really think this kid's supposed to be great. And they've made right field sort of available now. I don't think there's a designated right fielder. I mean, I've heard even talk this year of, well, we'll try to work Brett Beatty in for a few games in right field. And I think that's more an acknowledgement of, we got to get Beatty's bat in the lineup more so than, we've got right field taken care of.
Yeah.
And if Benj is that kind of athlete that they've talked about him being, then that's perfect for playing right field at Citi Field. Like we talked about, it's, Soto's not the greatest defender in the world, and he's pretty well built. And I'm in no position to say otherwise, but I think Carson Benj is probably better prepared to play right field in New York than at Citi Field than Juan Soto is. And I say that with all due respect.
Right.
But I do think this would be a case where I think if Benj hits like 350 during the spring and forces their hand, then they'll do that. They're not afraid to do that. I think more than likely we'll probably see him go back to AAA for a month and a half, and it's, all right, just show us a couple things. You're going to be the first name called if someone's hurt, but be ready. I feel like they want to see him. I think they want to see him at least have a decent spring where it's like, okay, we can call this kid up if we need him.
Yeah, like show us that you are ready. Yeah, no, I think he'll. I think he'll do pretty well in spring ball. Any concern about Bo Bichette playing third? I did see that clip where he botched that ground ball. He does look jacked as shit though.
So I did see the clip of him taking grounders at third. The first one was where that ball, like that hop caught him something serious, but like he got in front of it, which like, hey, if you're going to play third base, you're going to have to do that.
Yeah, you're going to have to knock some balls down.
The throws looked fine. The one thing that that I took away from those clips was, wow, he's playing off third base a lot. Like he's not hugging the line whatsoever. It's like, okay, like do you feel that good after your injuries to where, I can concede this much space along the line, and if a guy smokes a ball down the line, I feel good about my body that I can go cover this, but I can play 20 feet off the line. I know I'm going to make it. Because I think we did touch on this briefly in the last show, and I've seen a lot of guys who have played on the infield in the major league level say this to the effect of it's more about your instincts when you play third base than it is your athleticism. You really need your athleticism when you're at short because there's so much ground to cover between the hole between third and short and the hole between your spot and second base.
Yeah, and
so
like
really need it there. It's
the
not
void, and the void like in the outfield between you and like left center field.
And he'll be fortunate enough playing third base that he's going to have one of the best defensive shortstops in the game where, all right, if he doesn't get everything immediately to his left, Francisco Lindor probably will.
Yeah.
But the main point was if you have the instincts to play shortstop for quite some time, and again, no one would ever say Bo Bichette was a gold glover at short, but he was competent.
Yeah.
So he had enough instincts to play there for a good team. You probably have the instincts to play third base, and that's all third base is your instincts. Now, you do need to be athletic. You can't be – they don't put Adam Dunn at third base.
No.
But, like, if you can read it well off the bat, you'll probably be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I figured it was one botched ground ball out of God knows how many he's already taken since getting to Port St. Lucie. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure. I mean, that's what like this time of year is for too. It's like it's better he's making the mistakes now than when you get to the actual games. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how he adjusts to that position. If his body is back to where it was pre-injury, and if he can, if he is able to cover that ground, that is an interesting observation as far as like where he's positioning himself. As far as being that far off the line.
I wonder if that's intentional or if he just doesn't even realize that he's doing it, or if there's a reason he's doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's always a reason why players are lined up a certain way, especially with all the data that they have, and they got the the cards in there. Well, maybe that's more of an outfielder thing, but they got the cards in their pockets that show them where to position themselves for like every single batter. So, I'm sure everything is for a reason, or I wonder if maybe it's just like he's new to the position, and so he's kind of veering off towards like shortstop and second base because he's like just like subconsciously like more comfortable over there. Like
he's that's possible.
Not quite accustomed to the hot corner yet.
It's like, what's number 12 doing over there? That's my spot.
Yeah.
No. Back over there.
Yeah.
You're sure? Yeah, we told you you're over.
We discussed this when we signed you. We
also the one thing I would tell Bichette is like yeah, we need you to play third base competently. Watch Mark. You see those? Don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that. You'll be fine. That's all we're asking.
Yeah. So what do you think?
I'm not asking you to be Nolan Arenado. I just need you to be baseline competent.
Yeah. So I mean, you mentioned you think that they're gonna like split up or platoon the DH this year. Where does Mark Vientos like factor into that equation? Because it doesn't sound like he's playing third, and it doesn't sound like he's playing first either. It sounds like Jorge Polanco is going to be the first baseman.
Yeah, and now I think it's always worth keeping in mind, and especially with the Mets, because we've never had the greatest track record with health, is sometimes injuries just shake these things out the way they do.
Mm-hmm.
So, somebody might miss some time where it's like, well, I guess Vientos is going to get the next 2 weeks to go ahead and run with the DH spot here. But it could be a case of like, well, all right, Simeon's played 35 straight games at second. We probably should give him a day off. We'll just slide Bichette over here to second because we know he can play it.
At third.
Well, not even that. You could put Beatty at third.
Yeah.
And we'll definitely have Simeon. Well, actually, no, that would probably be a case where, yeah, I guess you could probably put Vientos at third if you were really pushing it, and put Beatty in right field and have Vientos' bat in the lineup. But I think more so than anything, the defense is, I think we've almost just kind of accepted it with Mark Vientos at this point. It's like, that's kind of always what the book's been on him, is like, he's going to make it or break it in the major leagues based on how well he hits. 2024, he did. Last year, he did not. So at this point, it's like, if he just comes back and he has the kind of season he did 2 years ago, all right, that he could be the full-time DH doing that.
Yeah, you could definitely. Yeah, no, you definitely sign up for that. I think, the Mets definitely need. I feel like that was something that was that the Mets maybe missed more than it got talked about, but maybe like what the Mets missed a lot more, and maybe what ended up kind of being the difference between, like, because they only missed the playoffs by a game, so like maybe the difference between, like, the year before, or one of the differences was the fact that Mark Vientos just didn't seem to have it figured out at the plate last year.
Well, and this was the first real extended playing time that he got was in 2024. He'd kind of been stop-start for 2 years prior to that. And so 24 was the first time where I think he'd played over 100 games. And so I don't think he'd accrued enough plate appearances before that to where teams really had a book on him.
Yeah.
So when he has that breakout in 24, teams had a whole offseason to be ready for, okay, this is where he feasted. This is where you can get him. Just pound him with this, and he'll go for these pitches, but he can't hit them. Like, it's like he's really weak here. This is what we're going to beat him with.
Yeah, they got.
And so now it's his turn to make the adjustments to them.
Yeah, it's an endless battle of who's got film on who. So so he just needs to adjust and work on the weak points in his game and the pitches that get him. Any closing thoughts before we move on to the Yankees?
Well, one of the things I kept talking about during the offseason was, okay, well, how are you keeping pace with the teams in your division? Because to me, this is still a 3-team division. I know the Braves had the season that they did in 2025, but it would not shock me if they were back in the mix this year. It's because I've seen them do it too many times, and I know the talent on that roster. Well, as we look right now, so they signed Ha-Seong Kim to be their starting shortstop this year. They got him after the trade deadline last year, although I thought we got rid of waivers, so I don't know how that works.
Was that the one they got the Ha-Seong Kim, the one from the Dodgers?
No, he's still there.
Oh, they got the one from the
Kim,
Dodgers.
You may remember, was the guy that caused Orion Kerkering's brain to malfunction in the playoffs.
Yes.
But this Ha-Seong Kim was the one who was on the Padres, and then the Rays signed him last offseason. He didn't play much for them because he was hurt.
Yeah.
And then when he got to Atlanta, he actually put up decent numbers with them. And I think they gave him $20 million for 1 year. And it was one of those, when I saw it, I'm like, man, I kind of wish he'd gone anywhere else. Like, that's a guy who thrives there.
Yeah, I mean, the Braves PTSD is real too, because I mean, you were worried that like they were gonna unlock Alex Verdugo,
but we're not going to see Ha-Seong Kim till the All-Star break now, because apparently when he was home in Korea, he slipped on ice and he like broke a bone in his hand.
Oh, damn!
And then late last week, it comes out that Spencer Schwellenbach still has shoulder issues, I believe it was. And then a couple days later, Hurston Waldrop, who we didn't really talk about it on this show last year because the Braves were so far back, but he was another guy that kind of had a post-hype breakout. He had been a big prospect for them, and he came up maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and it didn't really stick for him. But they brought him up after they fell out of contention last year, and it was, oh no, they might have unlocked another guy. So they thought, okay, we're going to go into 26. We'll still have Sale and Strider. Schwellenbach was hurt for a lot of last year, but we know how good he was as a rookie. And Waldrop may just be another one of these guys that we uncovered. But Schwellenbach today had surgery on his right elbow to remove loose bodies and bone spurs. which was a problem that Sean Manaea had all of last year. They're going to put Schwellenbach on the 60-day DL for that. And I think Waldrop might have gotten the same issue. I believe he had bone chips. So already that's two of the Braves' top 4 starters out to start the season.
Yeah, so that's going to be a tough. Yeah, it's going to be a tough way to start out.
And it's not only the fact that they're losing those two, but like I follow enough Braves fans who are like, "Fuck, this means Bryce Elder's back in the rotation. I thought we had him out of our lives."
Yeah,
that's all I need to know. Like, I follow the Braves well enough to know like he's mid, but if Braves fans are dreading him, like, okay, that's good.
Yeah, Lil bro wanted Freddie Peralta, but he didn't have Freddie Peralta money. Bryce Elder it is then, champ.
Oh, thank God. Because there was talk that they were in on him, and I was just like, man, you can't let that happen. And whew.
Yeah.
And then you have the Phillies, who may be fracturing in front of our eyes, because I know we talked about it during the offseason where Dombrowski kind of called out Bryce. And when Bryce got to camp last week, he's like, hey, what the hell? Why did you make that public?
I mean, he's still tight about that. Now, he's probably going to go, like, the bad news is he's probably going to go on an absolute tear this year.
Provided he stays healthy. I mean,
if he stays healthy,
numbers out here.
If he stays healthy, he might hit like 50 home runs just to spite his general manager. But it does seem like things are kind of falling apart at the seams for the Phillies. And I mean, the Mets did steal Bo Bichette from the Phillies. So, it definitely feels like, like I'd say the Mets and the Phillies are like the two biggest threats in the NL East. You can't discount the Braves, but I think they're going to have an uphill battle again to stay in contention. But I think that right now there's definitely more momentum in the Mets' favor.
And then we still have to wonder whether, is Zach Wheeler going to be ready to go?
Yeah. Yeah. And is he gonna be the same?
Because even if Wheeler didn't have those issues and he was just coming into this year with a clean bill of health and that worry just never crossed his mind. Remember, he is 35 at this point, and he has been a workhorse guy ever since he got to Philly. It would be fair to ask, like, okay, do the years start to catch up with him at this point? Like, Not only does he throw a lot of innings, but he throws hard. Like, that generally doesn't fare well for a lot of guys to that age. Like this,
even if you're stay relatively healthy. But,
I mean, we're seeing it right now with Justin Verlander going back to Detroit after the past couple of years he's had.
Yeah, they did I think they did like that side by side, like his photo when he first came to the Tigers and like his photo with the Tigers now. Like I think the Tigers social media posted it, and someone was just like, "That's not the same person."
The funny thing is that, and my friend Tyler Stover pointed this out, given that Verlander's on a one-year deal and they have a couple other guys expiring, this actually makes it more possible now that they re-sign Skubal, because I think Verlander's on something like 23 million for this year, and that's it. And I think they have
wasn't it 32? Wasn't that?
Oh, you're right. Yeah, it was higher.
Case.
And actually, let me pull it up because I want to make sure I get this right. But it was like, if Chris Ilitch is playing six-dimensional chess here, I might be. But they were like, they're gonna have a ton of money coming off without having to really sacrifice anybody, to where they could just go back and sign Skubal, and it'd be like, okay, you can still kind of build a team from here, and you can also pay Skubal what he wants.
Yeah.
Now, do I think the chances of that being true are high?
Nah.
Not necessarily, but I think it's in play.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't rule it out, and certainly, I certainly wish them the best. Last thing we need is Tariq Skubal on the fucking Dodgers, but Yeah, I don't know. I kind of when they signed Framber Valdez, like that to me kind of felt like all right, like we know we probably can't afford Skubal, but let's get another ace. Obviously he's not Tariq Skubal, but let's get another he'll be our number 2 this year, and we'll have our ace for the future with him, and hopefully that whole incident was a one-off thing and doesn't happen again. Can't be doing that with can't be messing with Dylan Dingler like that.
The Ding Man. But then you realize like they're going to have to pay Riley Green at some point too. Like you got to start keeping some of these bats as well. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, it all depends. It all depends what Little Caesars man wants to do, I guess.
Well, if the hot and ready's become $11, we'll have our answer.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure no one will complain about spending 11 on a hot and ready if in Detroit if they got Skubal back. So
absolutely not.
Yeah, you gotta hope that plays. Yeah, hopefully that plays out in their favor. But if not, then I'm sure at least one of our teams will be ready to pounce. Apparently, the Yankees checked in on trying to trade for Skubal, and the quote was they got the impression that it would cost half of their team, so they decided not to, which I don't blame the Tigers for asking for half of the team.
No,
but yeah, but I also wonder, like, what half of the team really means. Like, are you talking, like, half of your big league squad, or, like, were they just going to deplete your whole farm system?
Like, yeah, we're good. We're good on the major league side, unless you want to give up that Judge fella, and then call it back.
We could do 1 for 1. Yeah, but that could be a good segue to get into some Yankees talk, because it kind of segues into kind of something I think that has been a bit of an issue for the Yankees now is the prospect hugging that the organization has done for quite some time now. With you've seen it with they did it with Volpe when he was coming up. They're now doing it with they've been doing it with Dominguez. Now they're doing it with Spencer Jones and George Lombard. But it does seem like maybe the Yankees, and obviously it's always good to plan for the future, and you always want to have a good farm system, and usually the Yankees do a pretty solid job of having a good farm system. I mean, it's not the greatest right now, but they usually have a pretty good they usually have a pretty good slew of prospects on deck that they can that they're either counting on for the future or that they can use as chips in a trade. But the problem seems to be is that they overvalue their prospects and they seem to hold on to them for too long, where now you end up in situations like the situation that the Yankees currently have with Spencer Jones and Jason Dominguez. I believe it was I forget if it was Boone or Cashman who spoke, and they basically said that Dominguez is most likely going to be starting the season in minor leagues, in AAA. Unless there's like an injury, because I mean you got Grisham in center field, Judges in right field, and you got Bellinger in left. So like the outfield is pretty set. Dominguez is he's at an age and at a point in his career where he probably should be playing on I don't know if he's an everyday player, but I mean, he's 23 now, so he definitely needs the reps. So it does seem like it seems like he's likely to start the season in the minor leagues. His returns at the major league level haven't exactly been great. And then with Spencer Jones, this was a guy who they valued him extremely high, and I do think there's a lot of upside there. But he's also like an absolute K machine. and he's fallen out of like the top 100 of prospects. Like, and this was a guy where they were basically like, this was a guy that they were basically like, we will only trade you if like we're only going to trade Spencer Jones if we're getting someone like, like J-Ram or Paul Skeens, like that quality of a player. And now, now it seems like his value is not anywhere close to that high. Like, if you wanted to get someone like a Paul Skeens or someone like that, it would probably start with Spencer Jones and George Lombard, and then plus other stuff. So I don't know. It seems like something that the Yankees have been doing a while, where they get themselves in these situations where they overvalue their prospects, they hold on to them for too long, and then they find themselves in situations where with Dominguez, where they can't find any playing time for him. I think it's probably better to just trade him now and don't even worry or be delusional about like what the return is. Just kind of cut your losses and move on. And yeah, I mean, as far as Spencer Jones goes, I feel like it's feeling more of an unknown now than, like if you would have asked me like a year ago, I'd be like, oh yeah, like Spencer Jones is going to be up in a year and he's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. But now I'm not so sure.
I guess I think what has to be the most frustrating part of this for Yankee fans is that you feel like your front office just hasn't learned that lesson. And it's not even so much like what they've done with Volpe and Dominguez, but it's, we can look back to the last decade with this between Andujar and Clint Frazier and several other guys where it's, you just heard for years that these were going to be franchise changing talents. These are guys that, we're looking to build for the next decade with Judge with. And part of that is, and this was something that I've talked about on the show where, you don't expect your rookies to come up and do what Judge did, but you want to have guys that you can put in the lineup every single day on a rookie contract. That allows you to be able to save money so that you can spend it on the stuff that you really need. Whereas, second base is taken care of, or I've got third base taken care of because I've got this guy on a rookie deal, and he's going to be worth 4 or 5 wins every year, or worth 3 wins. But I know that position settled. I don't have to go look for a free agent or go trade for someone. I just know that position's taken care of. And they haven't had a lot of those. But when they've had guys like Frazier and Andujar, and we're seeing it now with Dominguez and Jones, and it's either they don't call them up right away, which you're burning reps for these guys because now they're spending time at AAA when it's okay. If they're really that good, then bring them in, let them sink or swim and see if they're, I think people always forget when Judge came up in 2016, didn't exactly light the world on fire, but they gave him enough rope to be like, okay, can you do this or not? Can you hit? And he eventually proved he did. So either you find out that these guys have it or they don't, or you have that internal assessment. If you have that internal assessment of, hey, look, his perception around the league is still high and his value is still high, but I don't think it's going to work for us. Let's move him on. Because how many times did the Yankees make trades for somebody during the dynasty years in the 90s and 2000s, and it not really come back to haunt it?
They trade like a highly touted prospect, and it really doesn't.
Like out of all those moves that they made where they traded for someone, like the biggest name that they gave up on was Nick Johnson or Jake Westbrook. And it's like, okay, if that's the worst that you lose.
Yeah, Nick Johnson sucked. And they even brought him back.
It's like, all right, Jake Westbrook became something down the line. All right. Like you live with that.
Yeah.
But it's like they can't decide whether it's like, okay, do we want this guy to be a long-term part of our team? Do we want to play him? Or do we want it? They get stuck in this area of indifference for so long that by the time they're almost forced to make a move, actually, he's just a 1.5 WAR player. And now we had to pay to keep Cody Bellinger, which not a bad thing. Like you should keep Bellinger, but it's like, while we were waiting to see if this kid could play or not, we had to make sure we had to pay Cody Bellinger because we needed the sure thing in left field.
Yeah, because
we had to pay Grisham $22 million because we didn't know about center field either.
Yeah,
and now we don't have room for this kid.
Yeah. Like we still don't really know about Dominguez, but I'd say like the early, it's still so early for him too in his career, but like the early, I guess the early sample size of him at the major league level is that he's, he was definitely overhyped as a prospect. I guess when you're like a jacked 17-year-old hitting absolute nukes, like that'll happen. But
yeah,
it seems like he's definitely not. He definitely hasn't lived up to the hype, and now he's like pretty much he's going to struggle, to find playing time, and I feel like it might just be better. I feel like it might just be better for both parties if he if he got a fresh start somewhere else and you just got I don't know, you just got something in return to either like get get another arm or like a low end starter or something to replenish your farm system with.
And to kind of circle back on that point, if I'm a Yankee fan, if I'm seeing George Lombard and he's done well in the minor leagues, and the talk is, well, he's probably still a year or two away. He's probably a little too young to call up right now, but we think the world of this guy. If I'm a Yankee fan, I'd have to be thinking, so what are you going to do with him? Are you going to bring him up when it should be time to bring him up, or are you going to twiddle your thumbs and wait 2 more years?
And then you get skeptical.
Be another full season. Like, what are you going to do with him? Are you going to make the same mistake?
Yeah, I think as a Yankee fan, you get skeptical of the organization's evaluations of these players and also their development. Because I mean, you've seen it. You're seeing it obviously with Volpe, where everyone's. And I actually feel because I know I started this segment off pretty negatively, but I actually do feel kind of good about Volpe, like starting the season like on a rehab stint, like in AAA. Like I think there's potential for that to like bode well and go in his favor for him, where maybe he like finally figures it out or shows some signs of like ability to hit at the major league level.
And it's like, if you can just go work on yourself for a while, like I'm sure he'll probably hear some stuff at spring training, because we've been at spring training. There's always somebody who does.
Yeah.
But he'll play minor league ball. Like, you could go at spring training and just work on being good. And then you can go play minor league ball where it's like, all right, I'm here to work on one specific thing. Do I feel okay? All right.
Yeah, you can like working on your approach.
Whereas I'm sure he probably had to be thinking before this injury, man, when we go to opening day next year, they're going to boo the shit out of me when I get introduced. Like, I'm sure he didn't think about it a lot, but I'm sure it probably passed his mind at some point.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And next time I come here, they're going to hate my guts. Man.
Yeah. I don't think the Yankees would boo him on. I don't think Yankees fans, as ruthless as they can be, I don't think they would boo him on opening day. I don't think they're that bad, but it won't take long.
Yeah, or the cheers won't be that loud.
Yeah, you're not getting. Yeah, you're definitely not. You're probably getting the least out of everyone in the starting lineup. They're probably going to cheer the quietest for you.
DJ LeMahieu was looking over, going, first time.
Yeah, yeah. Looking up from the depths of hell.
But yeah, so like he can just go spend.
I'm sure DJ LeMahieu is a fine person.
But those first 2 or 3 weeks when he's just that. Are you guys still Columbus for AAA, or did that change?
We are the. I thought Scranton, the Rail Riders, was our AAA team.
Okay, you're right, because I know Scranton was part of your system, and now I know they're part of like one of those collegiate wood bat leagues, so it's not the same.
Yeah, I do think we used to be. I think we used to have the Columbus Clippers. Used to be one of our teams, but it's the Scranton. Yeah, Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders is our AAA team. The Somerset Patriots are our.
That's right.
AA. And then I'll be honest, I'm not even. Are the Staten Island Yankees still a thing? I don't even know. Like,
no, they're an independent too.
Yeah, I'm not even sure what our low A and high A teams are at this point.
And I only know that because I know that very recently, Edgardo Alfonso was managing that Staten Island team when they were one of those. They were part of like the independent system that MLB was helping with after they halved minor league baseball. And funny enough, I only know this. So this little inside story. Edgardo Alfonso's kid actually played at a school in our conference. He played at Lynn University, which is where Tommy Camley went to.
Oh,
and
pretty cool.
I was doing the game, and I talked with our coach, who was actually who came up with the Mets. Actually, made a brief appearance in the late '90s. And I said, and so before that game, and I'm talking to him, and I'm like, "Does it feel trippy to you that you and Edgardo like played together in the minor leagues, and now you're coaching against his kid?" He's like, "Oh, he's like Edgardo's one of the best guys I ever played with. Like, you know, we were teammates at 4 different levels. He got there faster than I did." He's like, "But no, he's like me and him still talk all the time. He's got that collegiate wood bat job now." So that was kind of neat.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, and I just looked it up. Our single A affiliates, we have the high A. Our high A team is the Hudson Valley Renegades, and they play in Fishkill, New York, and the Tampa Tarpons are our
Tarpons. That's a fish.
Tarpons. Yeah, that's our low A team.
I gotta say, I kind of like that teams try to come up with an original name where it's like, you know, Fort Myers as the Twins, and it's like, well, you kind of can't be the Twins because you're not the Twin Cities. Clearwater never called their team the Phillies, or at least they tried not to. It's
right.
Like, well, you're not in Philly. But it's like, I kind of feel like if you're a Yankee affiliate and you were just always the Tampa Yankees, just stick with that. That works.
Yeah,
that also reminds me.
It does and it doesn't.
The newest crazy minor league team name dropped this week. Did you see what it is?
No. What is it?
So the Akron Rubber Ducks, which I believe is Cleveland, they're going to have a weekend this year. And I know minor league teams do this because I know when I worked here in Brevard, we would do those where we would have a different team name for a series. And basically, we did that,
the New Jersey Diners thing.
Yeah, we would just sell the jerseys after to like make some money because like we would do an auction and the players' families would usually buy them and we would, you know, the money would go to charity. But the Akron Rubber Ducks for a series are going to be the Akron Cream Stick Donuts. And my first response is no.
Yeah.
The colors are crazy.
That is a wild. That might be.
We might be reaching a saturation point with minor league team names. As someone who likes them, I think we may be reaching that point.
Yeah, they might have to. It might be time to stop.
Reading, the one of the Phillies affiliates is doing the iced coffees.
Interesting.
The team in Binghamton, which is the Mets AA affiliate, at one point they are going to be the Southern Tier Scoop Scoundrels. What are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the creativity because it's like, how many different like names can you come up for these minor league teams? And some of them are, you know, pretty good, but also it's like you're just making shit up now. Like
a lot of cloth.
Eventually it's just gonna be like a bunch of AI slop.
Oh, the Somerset Patriots this year will be I'm assuming this is going to be on the 4th of July. Will be the Somerset Semi-Quincentennials.
Oh. All right.
Yeah,
we
have a violation.
You do
the Red Sox. The Worcester Red Sox for a series will be the Pawtucket Hot Wieners.
The Hot Wieners.
Flag on the play. What part of the game is this? What is it?
Wasn't there that one team? I forget this already happened, but wasn't there a team that was like the Oysters or something, and they had a highly suggestive hat or logo?
Oh man, this show's gonna finish. I'm gonna fall asleep, and I'm gonna wake up first thing tomorrow, and it's gonna be like, oh wait, that's who it was. But right now, my brain is just Like it's going through the Rolodex, but I can't think. I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember exactly who.
Yeah, well, I look forward to that text message tomorrow morning. It'd be a great way to
the Altoona Curve, which is the Pirates AA team, is going to be the Altoona Mud Turtles, and that's what happens after you eat Altoona pizza, folks. Did Case message you, by the way?
No.
He sent me an IG reel. It was some hole in the wall place in Pittsburgh. It's like this is a Pittsburgh pizza, and Case was like, "Heck needs to go talk with his people." I'm like, "Buddy, that is not even the worst pizza in the state of Pennsylvania." He's like, "Dear God, I do want to know, but I don't want to know." And I'm like, "Just Google Altoona pizza." And he's like, "People do this all the time."
I will say the majority of the pizza that I've had out here is actually it's actually not bad. It's not like New York, New Jersey level, but it's edible. It's most of it you can get by with. I think most of the pizza in this city is pretty solid, but yeah, I'm sure there's some duds out there. Definitely forward me that
variant in Pittsburgh where it's like, okay, well this is our twist on it.
Yeah, definitely forward me that reel though. I am curious.
I will do that right now.
But back to I guess back to the Yankees. So they've obviously found themselves in a bit of a conundrum. Although I think they'll ultimately probably end up keeping Dominguez, and I do think they'll hang on to Spencer Jones too, because there isn't a whole lot of they don't have a whole lot of depth in their outfield. I mean, obviously they have their everyday starters figured out, but like Dominguez and Spencer Jones might just be, they might just be like the bench guys. And I mean, I guess Jose Caballero can kind of play outfield sometimes, but that's probably not ideal. And I mean, I guess you could stick Jazz out there sometimes. The good news though is when they got to camp, there were no new injuries to report on. I was expecting someone to have a previously undisclosed. Is it the Hamat or the Hamate?
Oh, the hamate bone. Yeah, you avoided the hamate bug.
Yeah. We did avoid the hamate bug, which I was pleasantly surprised by that. I was like, oh, someone is gonna have a hamate, and it's gonna fucking piss me off because why are we just hearing about this now? But what else is noteworthy?
I won't say for the hamate. My dad explained this to me because my dad's had to do surgeries and stuff. I'm like, so what's the big deal? And then he's like, yeah, it's like right near your thumb. I'm like, wait, Lindor said he's had this for years. How is he doing any of this? And they're like, no, he wanted to play through it. And I'm like, just do it. I'd rather you do this now than in the middle of the season. Like, God, that kid, he has to pick up his kids. How's he doing this?
Yeah.
It would be unbearable to hurt.
Just get it out of the way, and that way when you come back, you're truly playing 100%.
Yeah. If he misses the first 2 or 3 weeks, okay, those never go well for him anyway. Let's just skip right through it.
What else?
I did want to ask you real quickly to kind of wrap up your point, and this is something I feel like we maybe have talked about with other sports, and it kind of ties into something that gets attached to New York sports fans.
Mm-hmm.
And and I think you have a better pulse on Yankee fans than I do. If you brought a prospect up, and I feel like Judge is kind of an unfair example because he didn't play the whole season in 2016. He basically got the last month and a half.
Yeah, he was more or less a September call-up.
But if you gave a rookie a prospect to come up for a whole season and he hits 230, and it's like, okay, the numbers weren't great, but he had a few moments where you could see the talent. The thing I hear a lot about New York fans is like, oh, well, you could never have a rebuilding season. You can't tank in New York. They won't go for it. And it's like, yeah, maybe that used to be true. It's like fans are smarter now. They're not. Knicks fans talk about this a lot before they got good. It's like, if you can give me a plan and you can show me what you want to do and where you want to go and how you're going to do it, I'll sit through it. But at least give me the impression that you know what you're doing.
Yeah, give the impression that there is a plan in place.
But with prospects, I think most Yankee fans, and I think this would even be true for Met fans, where it's like, if you can show me that it's like, okay, you have talent and the capability to stick at the major league level. All right, so what? Your first season wasn't Rookie of the Year material. I know you're like Jose Reyes didn't exactly light the world on fire for his first, I would say, 2 seasons as a Met, but he had enough glimpses where you're like, all right, there's a good player in there. They need to let him figure it out. And they eventually gave him enough runway to do it that he turned into that guy. I feel like there's probably a decent amount of Yankee fans who would just be like, hey, look, if they let Lombard play 162 or let Spencer Jones play 162, and he's not great right out of the box, but he looks like a major league player, we'd be fine with that, right?
Yeah, so that's an interesting, it's an interesting question and an interesting point. Obviously, obviously New York fans are notoriously have a reputation for being super patient and super reasonable. But no, in all seriousness, obviously, there's a lot of impatience, especially with Yankee fans. I would say, that they start the season off like 2-5, and people are just going to start freaking out. People will be freaking out like the first inning of opening day if they're not winning. So, obviously it's a very impatient fan base, and a fan base that's hard to please. And it's hard to say as far as sitting through a rebuild. It's hard to say just because like we haven't really experienced that. Like at worst, like in our worst seasons, in my lifetime, like we're still an over 500 ball club. So it's like we've really never truly bottomed out. But I think like individually on a case by case, and usually they're not in a situation where like a rookie prospect is just starting opening day and getting the whole season. It seems like a lot of guys are called up, but I do feel like, especially nowadays, I do feel like fans are more, a little more patient and a little more understanding when it comes to prospects and when it comes to rebuilds. Like I think the general consensus when the Yankees did their little teardown in 2016, when they were, when they were trading away a lot of pieces at that deadline, they traded away Chapman. I forget who else they traded, but Chapman was the what's that?
They traded Beltran as part of that.
Yeah, they traded Beltran, and I believe they traded Andrew Miller too, that deadline. Yeah, so like they did their little like mini teardown then, and they actually, because like they were kind of out of it at the deadline, but then they actually kind of like almost made the playoffs after that. But
84-78, pretty good.
Yeah, I think they missed the playoffs by a few games, but I think everyone at that point, I think the general consensus among Yankee fans was that, and I'm sure like winning after the deadline helped, but I think the general consensus was that like, they did what they needed to, like, that's what they needed to do. It was the right thing to do. And that they did well with what they got in return, was the general consensus. And I think that we've seen like pretty recent examples of fans. Like I would say a good example of like the type of player you brought up, is I think that's kind of like what 2024 Ben Rice was. Now, maybe not for the full season, but you saw flashes with Ben Rice in year one. You saw like, okay, yeah, this guy can hit and he can hit for power, but he hadn't really fully put it together yet. But like you knew there was something there with Ben Rice, and you knew like, oh yeah, if we're gonna be good again in 2025, especially like after you losing Juan Soto, like, in order to replicate some of that, Ben Rice is going to have to take a step, and he did. And, but I think people were definitely encouraged by what they saw by Ben Rice in 2024, even though he wasn't necessarily like, you weren't going to start him like Game 1 of the World Series or anything, but I think it was a point where if he had to play, you didn't necessarily feel bad about him. And then, I think he obviously, even with like the shit luck that he had, I think he really came into his own last year. And I'd say if there's one player like that I'm like really like maybe the most excited to watch outside of Judge this year, it's Ben Rice.
I think Francisco Alvarez is probably the equivalent of that for the Mets, where he got a little bit of room to run with the job in the back half of 23 when we were very much out of it. And it was, okay, the power's there, just like they said it was. It's like, okay, not everything's matched that, but if you have pop in your bat like that at 22 years old, all right, there's room for that. And similar to Ben Rice in the sense of he's had bad luck from an injury standpoint, but it's like in each of the 2 seasons since Alvarez's full debut, it's okay. There's a reason that you hang on to that guy. There's a reason that you give that guy every chance in the world. And it was probably the right thing. Now, they probably could have went and got a veteran, but the fact that they were just like, you know what? We gave this kid a huge international signing bonus. We hyped him up.
We got to see. Yeah. We got to see what we have here.
Either this kid's a franchise catcher or he's not. We've promised this fan base a franchise catcher. It's time for us to find out. And going into this season, Alvarez is one of those guys where, if he can keep up what he had in the back half, after he came back up from his demotion, if you get that Francisco Alvarez for a full season, that transforms this lineup.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, if you could get the Alvarez of old, that's a big game changer too. Because like so many people in the lineup just had down years for the Mets last year.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as like the whole conundrum with like, letting prospects blossom and develop, I mean, I think the Yankees do a pretty good job of like, they always have enough talent at the major league level that they never really have to throw a prospect into the fire. It seems like the only time they've really done that, like the only player they've really done that with is Anthony Volpe, and obviously it's gone terribly to this point. But it seems like most of the time, like with Ben Rice, like he didn't have to start every day, and like I don't even know if he was necessarily expected to start every day, like going into last year, and now he's at a point where he's probably going to be the everyday first baseman. We did re-sign Paul Goldschmidt, but it seems like he's more so just there, like just that's kind of like a mentor, maybe vibes, leadership type of signing. And on the occasion that Ben Rice does need a day off, or if Ben Rice has to catch because Austin Wells needs a day, or or JC Escarra's hurt, or whatever the case may be, like they got some depth that they could put Goldschmidt at first base.
I will say, even for Cashman, like he's been in this job long enough now, like he has a track record of doing this with certain guys, and maybe guys that weren't as hyped as Volpe, Jones, and Dominguez were. Where it's, I mean, I can remember when Melky Cabrera and Cano came up. It was, who were these guys?
Yeah,
they're just injury fill-ins, right? And then they played well enough out of the chute, like they weren't the players they became right away, but they did enough where
they showed something right away. I remember I was at like one of Robinson Cano's, like one of his first games in 2005, and I think it was against the A's. He may have hit a home run that day. I don't really remember. I just know Mike Mussina threw a complete game shutout that day. But
wow,
but
they did enough where you're like, all right, might as well let him.
I remember like I remember we were sitting like in the upper deck and like in like right field. So he made some nice plays at second, and I think he had a couple of hits. So I was like, okay, like I don't know who this guy is, but he looks the part, like. So that's good. And then, Melky also just kind of came out of nowhere. So they do have some guys who, maybe aren't on the radar, who always seem to break out and become contributors at the major league level. But, Yeah, I'm super bullish on Ben Rice this year. I think with just normal, I think even with just normal luck, he'll be very good. Yeah, so they re-signed Paul Goldschmidt, so now they're truly running it back. And it does seem like the Yankees have taken note internally of the sentiment that from the fans and from the media that they are running it back. And it seems like they're trying to channel it into a positive, where it's either they don't respect us, they think we're running it back and they think we're going to suck, or they're saying, hey, we're running it back, but we're running it back with the back-to-back reigning MVP, Jazz Chisholm, Giancarlo Stanton, another former MVP, Max Fried and Carlos Rodon, and now you're bringing Garrett Cole back, and it seems like Garrett Cole's ahead in his rehab. I heard he might even get some live reps in spring training. So
you got to imagine Cam Schlittler's pretty motivated after watching his team lose in the Super Bowl. He's going to want to take that anger out on somebody.
Yeah, well, Cam Schlittler, you got to pick a. I don't want to subject you to New York football, but you might have to pick a new team, just because you did say it's New York or nowhere. And no, I will not allow you to root for the Bills.
I'm pretty sure he was actually also at the outdoor game rooting for the Bruins. But I was too far away to try to confront him on that.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. It is what it is. I think he is a Knicks fan, though. At the very least, we got him rooting for the Knicks. We got him going to Knicks games, so that's good enough for me as far as Cam goes. And I'm sure he'll be hyped up and he'll be motivated to build on the great season and the great postseason that he had, or the great half season that he had.
I'm just picturing another Celtics-Knicks playoff series. He shows up wearing Knicks gear, and Boston just takes aim at him. And it's like, this shit again? Really?
Yeah, we might get it. It might happen. What else of note has happened in spring training? Apparently they're having Ryan Yarbrough take some reps, or not Ryan Yarbrough. What am I saying? Ryan McMahon. They're having Ryan McMahon take reps at shortstop. Personally, I probably would have just signed one, but all right, you can give Ryan McMahon some reps at shortstop. I mean, he's a pretty good defender at third, so maybe in a pinch he can play there. And Ryan Weathers is already hitting 98, which is pretty insane for the middle of February. And Carlos
is good and bad, I think. It's like, do you want guys throwing that hard in February already?
This could lead to you blowing your arm out or something we don't want.
Yeah.
And Carlos LaRange, I think, threw 102 or 103.
Okay, that's what I was thinking of. I knew I saw somebody was already hitting triple digits, and I'm like I get you're trying to make a name for yourself, but oh boy.
Yeah, Carlos LaGrange. He's the I feel like he's the big hype prospect now. I'm pretty sure. I think I'm looking at Fangraphs. I'm looking at Fangraphs top 100 prospects right now, and I believe Carlos LaGrange is George Lombard is the highest Yankees prospect on this list. He's 49. Where's LaGrange? All right, I thought LaGrange was higher on this list.
Is he expected to debut this year, or is he? Okay. Oh, no, there we go. He's 79th
on Fangraphs.
Oh, my bad. I'm looking at MLB Pipeline.
Oh, I mean, that works too. But I know I saw. Oh no, okay. I thought I saw him on. The Fangraphs list as well.
Yeah, but it says he does touch 103. That's
yeah, he touched he's 73 on Fangraphs, and he did touch 103 in a live BP a couple of days ago. So definitely excited for him. Hopefully throwing that hard in the middle of February doesn't lead to problems down the road. But I mean, we lost a couple of pieces in our bullpen to the Mets. So if he could kind of come in and the comp that I keep hearing with LaGrange is that he's like the new Dellin Betances. So I mean, if we get peak Dellin Betances out of this guy, that's awesome. But also, like, I don't want to fall into that trap of unfair expectations.
Man, getting peak Dellin Betances sounds nice. I wonder if Garrett Cole watches that kid is like, hey, listen, let me tell you a little something.
Yeah,
it's nice to throw 103. It's also nice having full seasons.
Yeah, having an arm. Yeah, having an arm that works is nice. Yeah, or I think that sometimes like seeing a player like that, like, because remember, like, for a few years, Chapman like kind of was losing it a little bit, like wasn't throwing as hard, and then he was on the Pirates with Skeens and he was throwing 103 again. Like, I feel like so maybe that awakens something in Cole, and he's touching like 101.
Cole is just a SpongeBob I'm pussy meme.
Oh man, but yeah, I mean that's pretty much everything I can think of. As far as the outlook for the Yankees going into spring training, I believe the first the first spring training games are this weekend, if I'm not mistaken. So as of an hour ago on the East Coast, at the time of this recording, it's now February 19th. So Friday, February 20th, will be the first spring training game of the year, Yankees Orioles at 1:00. So God, we are so fucking back. I can't wait to watch that game, and then after the first day of spring training, it's like just get me to opening day.
Let me tell you, when I'm going to buy the MLB.TV package at some point in the next week or two. Let me tell you, the first time I hear the SNY theme and it's a shot of St. Lucie, I'm going to be the John Hamm meme of him in the club. Just
yeah,
I'm all set.
No, I'll be hyped. I'll definitely be hyped too. Well, I guess they're on the road for their first spring training game, but usually for the first home game, the Yankees do wear pinstripes in their first spring training game of the year. So that'll be.
I kind of like that.
That'll be cool to see. Yeah, it's kind of like, I guess it's a symbolic way of saying like that. Even though this doesn't count, it's still important.
And also, like, it's nice fan service for, like, I'm sure there are a lot of Yankee fans in Tampa that are like, oh man, this is great. First spring training game of the year.
Yeah, the pinstripes are out.
Yeah, it's like we don't get to see that often. Everybody has a different spring training uniform now, but it's like, all right, cool. I actually get to see the real thing live and in the flesh once. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's pretty sick, and definitely an exciting time of the year. So happy spring training to all those who celebrate. But yeah, no, I think that pretty much does it for this episode. I don't know if you had any.
We actually did play on Sunday. That'll be in Tampa. I think that might be your home opener.
Who is it? Yankees Mets?
Yep.
Oh, nice.
At Steinbrenner Field.
There we go. Yeah, so that'll definitely be that'll definitely be a good one. I'm sure there'll be a good crowd for that game.
No doubt.
Yeah, don't think I'll be making it any spring training games this year, but a trip to the World Baseball Classic is on the horizon. So definitely.
Where to?
Miami.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I think we're gonna hit the don't know the exact details yet, but we're basically gonna hit like either one or both of the semifinal games and then try and go to the finals if tickets are somewhat reasonable.
Well, I can't guarantee that last part, but I appreciate the ambition.
Yeah, well,
also,
yeah, we're pretty much.
Since I know we talked about the WBC in our last show, Puerto Rico probably will not be making a run because of all the insurance stuff that has gone on in the meantime.
Yeah, despite Bad Bunny's best efforts.
Yeah, Chris and I talked about this before we went on air. You may have seen a story where it's Bad Bunny offered to pay the insurance for Francisco Lindor and Carlos Correa, and I'm sure he meant well. I don't doubt that, and I'm sure because we saw it during the Super Bowl, he's very prideful of where he's from. I'm sure he wants to see Puerto Rico win this. But I didn't know that he had opened up like something of a sports agency. He actually represents Fernando Tatis Jr. now. I learned that tonight. But apparently he's had issues with the MLBPA within the last 2 years. So again, and I'm not one to always side with MLB on stuff, but if this is a marquee event that has my name attached to it, and God forbid one of our star players gets hurt playing in this thing, and his insurance is being covered by someone that we've had legal issues with, yeah, I probably don't want that. So
yeah,
again,
it might not be.
I got why.
Yeah. Me and Maddie actually discussed that on one of the very first episodes of Black Diamond. One of the first 7 episodes we did before he fell off the face of the earth. We did briefly discuss that whole Bad Bunny agency scandal. So if you want to dig through the archives and rehash that, be our guest, and of course, be our guest and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the Middle Initial Podcast YouTube channel as well as their Patreon, and join the Discord. And you can talk to me, Jerry, and many other people on a daily basis about sports or whatever else the fuck you want. Sports, life, music, we do it all. But thank you all for tuning in, and until next time, go Yankees and go Mets. It's good to have baseball back, and let's have a fun, safe spring training. Peace.
We back up.